Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, before we do begin, let us give a brief little review. In the last part, a number of events have happened. We had Deku along with Rose in the MTF squad. Now, the MTF was sent out here because they thought it would be a simple 1000 retrieval mission. However, this proved to be very interesting. This is only a very strange report of 1000. They have evidence to suggest it was, and for the most part, that was true. Until Deku found an SCP-1000, a deer, and some members of the MTF fused together into some strange amalgamation of flesh. And Deku, yeah, he'd seen some fucked up shit, and this is one of the things now at the top of the list. Now, with that being said, Deku, he spit fire at it and made it go into retreat. And before he could tag it, yeah, it got away. People on the squad, they're not too sure how to react to this information. This thing absorbed a 1000. As far as they can tell, it also took the bodies of the task force members. That's why they couldn't find any bodies at all. Along with that, it is strange. They already thought there was another anomaly involved here, if it wasn't 1000. Though, the fact that it's this new thing they're dealing with is another situation. If it can absorb anomalous properties and take the bodies of people, then Izuku should not be at the campsite. God forbid even be in the same state as this thing. If it manages to take on Deku, there's no telling what it could do to him. If it could bring him into this amalgamation and gain his anomalous properties, it's going to be unkillable, and yeah, it could potentially cause an XK, given enough time, and the fact that the Foundation may not be able to bombard it with enough power to at least stop it, let alone contain it. Now, a few days have passed. The MTF have gotten a hold of the Foundation, and once the Foundation got the information, they began to send in backup. The area was put on a higher form of lockdown, and right now the area has been somewhat quarantined. The Foundation, they need to make sure this is an isolated incident, a one-of-a-kind anomaly. If this is another species anomaly, it's going to be bad. This could be like the adults, however, to a greater extent. So yeah, they need to get more firepower. And that does go through some of the people's minds. Currently them sitting down and eating breakfast. As Deku, he actually is looking over some information. Him staring at a map of the area they have all somewhat scavenged. The fact is, this is where Deku encountered the anomaly. Then over here, roughly about a fourth of a mile away, if not about a fifth, is where he encountered it again. So that's another problem. This thing is in that area. Though, where would it be hiding? Where could it be? Deku has already shown, currently him moving his finger about half a mile away, that this area here does have claw marks. It also does show signs of having the anomaly in the area. Currently, Rose bringing her own hand up and pointing to another area on the map, not too far away, about how she found evidence here. She talked to some of the wildlife and saw what was happening. The fauna does not lie. And Deku, he would turn, him bring up a needle and going to actually express to Rose. Him going to set it down in the area as she moved her hand. And someone would currently walk up and turn, expressing to 682-2 that they would like to speak to him urgently. And Deku will get a turn. Standing up as the commanding officer does escort Deku to another trailer. Currently, him closing the door and expressing, that his position on this operation has changed. Hmm? What do you mean? Your role. You were brought in because the Foundation were interested to see what you can do. This was a recovery mission, not another anomalous discovery. Kid, this is a Euclid, or even a Keter. We're supposed to be dealing with another Euclid, though not to this extent. Listen, did you feel any adverse effects when you encountered the 1000? No. I looked right at its face. You looked it in the eye? How long? A few seconds? Almost a minute? Oh, why? Okay. The man gets on turn, trying to think, pacing around the small room. Either the 1000 had its anomalous abilities neutralized by coming in contact with an anomaly, or it simply just does not have this anomalous pseudo disease. Whatever the Foundation think is in 1000 may not be. Or this thing found a way to neutralize it? No, no. If everything is fused together, that means human blood and anomalous blood. They're circulating through the same systems? So the human blood might have cured 1000. But that doesn't make sense. Okay. Still. There's a lot happening here. The data they're getting, it's inconclusive. There's no real clear way to say anything. There's no antibodies. There's no way of knowing what this thing can do, how it operates or works. And this does concern the commander. He doesn't know if Deku's already died to one of these things. He didn't know what a Bigfoot was. But maybe whatever's going on, he is immune to it. They've already been informed he's immune to certain memes. So yeah, this, along with cognito hazards, are his forte. Then again, going off the assumption that it is immune, that's certainly something. Currently, there being a pounding on the door. The man going to turn and open it. And Deku, he'll gonna hear a sound. Currently, a helicopter being heard outside as the door does close again. Someone walking in and going to express that, right, they're taking command of this operation. Under whose orders? O5. Is that enough? Yes, ma'am. Good. Now, Commander, your level of access, what is it? 3, 4, or 5? You must have one of the 3, correct? It's 4. Good. Well then, lucky day for you. You and your team are going to be privy to some information. Along with that, the Foundation, they have the area cordoned off. For the next 10 miles at most. Afterwards, we have teams set up at 50 miles along the area of not only the forest, but the town. We're trying to track down your anomaly. We currently have teams and helicopters overhead. As far as everyone knows, we're looking for your team. Do you understand? Right. Okay. Good. Now, I'm going to turn, looking at 682-2, expressing. He needs to make sure to stay out of this. He needs to leave right now. And Deku, we're going to turn, walking out as I'm going to turn back to the man, trying to brief him on what the Foundation wants right now. Since Deku walks out and sees a helicopter landing with some supplies, along with some D-Class who do to step off a helicopter, along with another one going to begin to unload some supplies. And the massive cargo container that was set down, people going to walk over to it. Some going to open it up as they do begin to unload weaponry and proper ordnance for the situation. since they heard this thing had a distaste for fire. And we do currently have Rose, who does sit there a bit distressed about what they are seeing. And currently she's going to turn, her making her way over to the forest, her bending down and going to block the wind from blowing away a twig that does lay there. Currently her going to try and replant this thing and hoping everything can be okay. And her hands do somewhat shake. She feels something wrong. Something's gonna happen. Nature feels threatened. Currently her looking up towards the forest. As she goes out stand and begin to hum to herself. And Deku, who would I turn? Him watching as Rose goes to make her way into the forest. And Deku, who would I turn? Currently him bolting after her. Since they can't go off alone, it will hunt them if they're alone. And currently Rose doesn't make her way about 20 feet in. Her going over a bush as Deku, he does gonna catch up to her. Her turning her head as she went to go somewhat sit down. And Deku, he would go to express that she needs to come back to the site. Her turning and going to someone try and talk to him about how she would like a second. And Deku, he does just stand there. Her going to suck in a breath and begin to emit the glow. And Deku watches on. As right now she just continue to hum and bring her hands down over the area. Her trying to soothe nature, along with trying to understand how they're doing. And Deku, he does stay quiet, letting her just do her thing. He's seen it before, though it does concern him. Currently, Rose going to have a flower sprout on the back of her head. Her going to turn and bring her hand up, before looking back at Deku, expressing, and the one sprouting on the top of her head. That, see, she is going to come back now then. She just wanted to convene, see what the area says. Does he smell that? Smell what? Never mind. They are talking to each other. Her turning, expressing. All of them are talking to each other. They have much to discuss. It is a beautiful conversation. Some of them even sing a nice song. Though others, they have their own worries. How they may continue. How they are. They have been threatened by activity like this, and they wish to not see it again. Her gonna turn, and make her way back to the Foundation site. Deku bringing his hand up and grabbing her arm. Her turning to Izuku as he would tell Sequoia that he does know her. She can talk to him. He knows a lot of things from the other place. They were friends. And Rose stares jerkily at Izuku. Her eyes somewhat showing a little bit of anger, because Izuku called her that name. He called her that. Currently her pulling her arm away a bit angrily, before stomping back to the site. And Deku tries to tell her that he knows. She told him. Currently her walking out of the brush as some people do see her. Her, right now, stomping around and with a bit of a sour expression, as Izuku does come out of the woods, and currently 2 members of a task force turned and saw the 2 anomalies. This a little bit more jarring. And we do actually have one of the members of the task force that were on the team with Izuku, who saw that and turned to their friend, Them going to someone shove them with their arm before pointing out. Them turning their head and talking about it. How much does you want to bet $50 there might be another anomaly? And the commander might be pissed off next year. What do you mean? Those two came out of the woods, and from my understanding, who was supposed to have their eye on that tree line? No, wasn't it supposed to be you? Who was it? I listen, man. Fuck off. The man waving him off. Currently, him turning back and trying to keep his eye on some of the D class that are unloading equipment. The man does not turn around, staring at the tree line, talking about it. He's really no fun, is he? Currently, us cutting to Izuku, who does help the MTF currently unload a few things. And later, people believe they may have found out where the anomaly could be located. They have enough evidence to give it an area, as far as it has gone, and the area nearby. Currently, them going to look down at the map. Okay, so if they put everything into a circle, they have the instant with the hikers over here. They have the last known location, which would be here, where they are. That's about, what, a fourth of a mile, a third, maybe give or take. Then you have the instant over here. That's closer to a mile. That's where they may have encountered the creature. So you also then have here. Them pointing at the map. And they may have found where it could be. All these things have one thing in common. They're all within about 4 to 5 miles of each other. The park is large. However, this is giving them something to go on. There's a pattern. So, if they expand that by double of its hunting range, then the nearest cave would be one here. Along with the fact that they've looked at the mountains, and aerial surveillance has given them 2 more locations here, them pointing off of the map, and farther away, and here, them pointing at another area, expressing. So, they need to look underground. Send in mole rats. Or send in an aerial drone to see what they can find. It will be easy. If they encounter the anomaly with a drone, they can move in. Go to neutralize. And currently the members of the MTF do go to get ready. Currently, someone setting up a computer and launching a drone. It going to take off as it is beginning to fly. It making its way over the tree line. And currently there actually is Deku, who does somewhat sit there. As the team, they have things more prepared. In the D class, they do just not walk over. Them sitting down after being allowed to take a break. And they do just not look up at Deku, who does somewhat sit there in a pair of jeans, along with some hiking boots and a t-shirt. Them a bit confused as to why a kid's here. Before Deku does go look up, one of them jumping back because of the serpent-like eyes. And Deku does notice this, him turning his head before they do go to somewhat realize. Anomaly. Right. Someone gonna move forwards, trying to ask the kid exactly if he could help them with a favor. What is it? Them turning their head, looking the MTF, which are all currently busy, trying to secure the location and keep their eyes in every direction, in case this thing might come to camp. We need to get out of here. Listen, the Foundation, they do some crazy shit. They're not the good guys here. You might think they are, but they're not. Whatever they promised you, it's not a good deal. Foundation is good. I've heard of you. D-Class? I'm gonna turn, looking at some of the others. Before Deku, we're gonna tell them. I'm gonna stand. He's a bad man. He's a killer, isn't he? Listen, compared to me, the Foundation have done a lot more fucked up shit. I might as well be a goddamn saint after some of the shit I've heard these people do. Alright? I'm not perfect. I'm fucking far from it, in fact. I don't know what the fuck you've done. You're an anomaly. I've seen what some anomalies can fucking do. Alright? I've seen what these fucking scientists will do. I'm just saying. Cause a distraction. Let me run. All I'm asking. The man gonna turn, looking at the two D-Class. A woman and another man, who is younger than him, by far. In fact, he might be closer to Deku's age. And he was gonna turn, looking back at Deku, expressing to him about how he just wants to go see her again. See family again. Can the kid understand that? Deku shaking his head. No. And the man's face goes to drop. Right. An anomaly. I'm going to try and rush forwards. Currently, him grabbing Deku, and Deku was just going to bring his hands up. Him grabbing him by the throat, as the man he does going to fall onto his knees. Deku going to lower him down, as the guy just trying to punch it at Deku. And the other two D-Class dudes don't stare on. Currently, one of the task force members running over and bringing a weapon up, yelling at Izuku to let the D-Class go. And somebody we're trying to express, currently walking over, as Deku lets the man go for D7295 to back away from the anomaly. And the person going to turn. Deku taking a step backwards and going to sit back down. Him turning his head and staring at a tree line. Him focusing on some of the sounds of nature. Though it does have him concerned. He has access to the internet. Granted, it's not the whole internet, but he has begun to hear stories. Humans talk about creatures. He thought he knew what he encountered last night. No, not last night's. Read about last night? It was similar. It matched the description of the anomaly. But it wasn't. Though, is Rose gonna be okay? She was mad. He probably shouldn't have brought it up. Some of her people's rituals. But how is he supposed to act like... Jesus. He should probably talk to 343. Try and understand this. Figure things out. Approach her friendly. Maybe, how did Dr. Bright say? That stupid one holiday. Flowers? But she is basically a plant. That'd be like giving her a severed head. Or, not exactly? She values nature. Okay. Currently, Deku sitting there and trying to think. Somebody walking over and trying to make some small talk. Though this ultimately doesn't do too good. As Deku seems to be very much distracted by something. And we do currently have where the anomaly, it is found inside a cave. And the MTF, they do need to get things set up properly and moved. They know its base of location. And from some of the scans they have been doing over the area, they know a few possible entrances and exits to the cave. They found one more area that may serve as an emergency exit. So, if they begin to destroy stuff, the anomaly will run into the forest and might try to at least find a new place to nest. It could be threatened, or there could be more underground connected to unknown taverns. This is the hard part. Currently, a team being sent in, as others do begin to somewhat camp on the outskirts of the entrances to exits. And we do currently have Izuku, who does stand there with a team currently transporting the cage. And it does begin to worry him. Him turning his head to Rose, her currently holding onto a bag that she was given. The Foundation have tested some of her abilities, and she can be an asset if she does have the proper resources. So, they want her to be, well, let's just say armed. And currently Deku, he does try to make some small talk. Him asking her if the Foundation gave her some proper seeds. Yes, they did. However, I would rather not talk with you right now. I'm sorry. Forget sometimes you are not my friend. Her turning, staring at him a bit confused, before expressing his. The Foundation are trying to learn about her people. But there are things that are private. She would like them not to know. Has he told them any of this? No. Keeping data records of 5,000. Event. Building up to things. Much information still not told. Written down. Might not include some stuff. You might not include things. Lost a lot of things during that happening. Lost a lot of friends. Lost Dr. Bright. Lost you. Left alone for a while. Was not fun. Anomaly in my head. Only thing to hear. Past time. Nature gone. You gone. Sequoia. All that remained. Had to bury you. Couldn't bury Bright. Her turning her head. I'm going to ask Izuku one question. If he gave the words of her people one last sentence, and Deku, he'll go to bring his hand up. Currently, her turning and holding hers out to Izuku. Some people in the task force, turning their heads as Deku, would bring his hand up and trace something in her hand. Her looking down as she doesn't look back up at Izuku. Him giving a slow nod as she doesn't understand the meaning by that. Her going to feel a little less mad at Deku, understanding what happened. The legacy of her people could have lived on, but things didn't turn out well in that world. She can understand things better now. And Deku, he currently will going to turn back. The team's waiting on the anomaly. And there currently is Deku, who does begin to hear a sound as there is the sound of the flamethrowers inside the cave. And one team, they do not feel the ground shake a bit. Currently, the area going to have a collapse as a small landslide does ensue. Members of the MTF trying to run as some get caught up in it. Them being dragged downhill as that access to the mountain is cut off. Currently, them trying to maintain their position as the area it still does begin to shake. In this, it does worry the task force. Some of them beginning to fall back as Deku, he does go to turn his head. Currently the cage sitting there in its designated location. And Deku, he would turn to Sequoia or Rose, trying to tell her about what they might need to do. And members of the MTF do get a turn, being to yell out orders about how all of them need to have their flamethrowers at the ready, because the anomaly might be coming their way. And there actually is a sound. And we do actually have where one of the D-Class do come running out of the cave. Currently, them climbing over something and going to move. Them going to try and bolt their way downhill as their actions with the creature does come climbing up. Members of the MTF going to pull down their goggles and activate buttons on them. Currently, them hoping the gear will have its own intended purpose fulfilled, blocking the meme that they will be exposed to. And they're currently as Deku would a watch on. Currently, the member of D class has things shot out towards them. It's going to throw itself towards them and wrap around their leg. The person smash onto the ground and bring their hands out. Them turning and going to grab the knife they were given. Them bringing it up and over their head. Currently, them stabbing it down into their own gut. And the person, they do mean to bring the knife out again. Them stabbing out again over and over and over again. As this creature does mean to drag the D-Class towards them slowly. It continued to try and make its way out of the cave, showing that some of the previous task force members it has absorbed. And currently the D-Class, it is dragged directly into the creature's arm. It burning its hands down as everyone, they do to begin to see it. Almost as if it was melting cheese. The creature brings its hands down, grabbing the D-Class. It being diffused in a part of its hand as the man does a scream out. Him letting out pained anguish. And currently he will get to flail his arms. Them being to get less mobile as the creature pushes further into him. It picking him up and showing this massive enlarged hand. As if it is a giant arm it can use as a mallet. Now, everyone is going to see this creature. Its arms are larger, and it does lean over a bit more forwards as if it was a giant gorilla, though its body is still very much disproportionate. And there actually is where someone, they do going to move forwards, them bring up a weapon and firing it out at the creature. Currently, the grenade launcher shooting out and going to emit flaming gas. It beginning to hurt the creature as it scream out. Someone bring up their hand and shooting off another weapon. The missile flying through the air and smashing behind the creature. It hitting the cave wall in a spot that is structurally weak, and it does begin to somewhat collapse. The creature moving backwards and then being sent forward by the blast. It falling forwards and wrapping downhill. And people do begin to move away. People shouting out to retreat and to maintain distance from the anomaly. And there actually someone is a turn to Deku, yelling for him to get airborne. And Deku doesn't understand. Currently, him bringing his hands up and grabbing his shirt. Him having his wings shoot from his back as Deku would leap up into the air. Currently the creature looking up and seeing Deku with his wings expanded. And the MTF members, they do begin to try to get a bit more of a half circle formed around the creature. Currently, it beginning to move forwards and bringing up one of these strange looking tendrils. Somebody firing out the flames towards it. And they were going to try and back away. Them beginning to try and form a circle around it and open up where the cage is. Hoping the creature will run in. Hoping this creature can move in. And there actually is Deku, who does a fly behind the creature. Him bringing his hands up as if he's about to cover his mouth to shout. However, the creature is also stuck in a breath. It being let out the pain sounds it has made before. And members of the MTF, they do get caught off guard by this. Some of them lowering their weapons, and some flat out beginning to drop them. Though their actions are one member, they do go to fire the grenade launcher again. The creature going to try and turn and grabbing one of the members by their throat. Currently the creature being shot at as the grenade is a blast into them. Them having that arm fly off as the member of the MTF, they are pulled up by one of the tendrils still connected to that arm. and it would smash them to the ground as they bring their hand up. Them going to try and just take a breath before this thing is result choke them out. Them bring their weapon up and try to slash it with a knife. And their action is Deku, who he is a turn. Currently him throwing out more fire as he does try to ignore the ringing in his ears. And there actually is Rose, who she fell to the ground, bringing her hand down and grabbing some of the plants that the members of the task force gave her. Currently her imbuing them with some magic and going to say some words before tossing the seeds directly at the creature. And it would turn. Currently some of the seeds being shot directly into its arm as they do begin to grow out. And the creature, it does begin to get covered by a tree beginning to sprout from its arm. And this, it does sort of alarm it. It tries to swing this thing off as actions where it does go to stop screaming. And Deku would bring his hands directly up to his ears. Currently, him making a movement quickly with two of his fingers, before bringing his hands back over his mouth and going to shout at the fire. Currently, him going to do so a bit faster, along with a bit deeper of a breath. Currently, somebody watching this Deku hears the sound of a bit more of a bluish flame. It hitting the creature in the back as he ignite the tree, and it does go scream out. It moving forwards and trying to get away from Deku's flames, which are intense. Now, their actions are members of the MTF do mean a blast at the ground, currently aiming the creature and trying to get it towards the cage. And they're actually still a member of the task force who was struck by it on the neck. Them trying to fight with the fleshy appendage that does lay on the ground. And their actions with the person they go to seize movement after somebody sliced this thing off of them and tried to drag them away from the appendage. However, it is currently fused into parts of the skin on their neck, along with it being that this thing may have already crushed its esophagus. And the person, sadly, may have passed. And we do currently have Deku, who does continue to try and blast out the fire, angling this thing into the cage. However, it doesn't go too well. The creature, whenever it does get into the cage, does begin to shoot out some tendrils. It showing off it does not want to be contained. It does not want to be left inside. And it does at least throw these things out to its members of the MTF, who are beginning to be encouraged by command to show this thing that containment is the only way. Since Deku, he is ordered to blast out some fire at the creature again, showing off they are the ones in control. And Deku, he would send out a blast of flame, currently the creature having the tree on its arm burning. It trying to get his piece away from it. However, it is caught in the bars, and the creature would turn staring at that. It trying to make a bit more of a plan, trying to understand what to do with the information it does have. Now, currently the anomaly, it is contained. And the Foundation, they're gonna have to get something out here to handle this thing. It's Sarkic, and from what they can tell, possibly parasitic. Aside from the member of the task force who just got killed by it, they have a sample to bring in. Though, they're not sure how this thing operates. If it's made up of people and things, it may not be alive. It might be parasitic. Currently, them being informed as to what to do. And the commander would return. Them bring up a flamethrower and going to begin to burn away at the sample. Burn away at the member of the task force who lays there dead. However, sounds do begin to be made audibly from the corpse. And this, it does make other members of the task force turn to the corpse, being to eliminate what could be a potential -2. Now, the thing, it is currently being monitored and left here in this cage until the Foundation can properly secure it and contain the anomaly. And while that's currently happening, the task force do begin to get things packed away. And Deku, he doesn't stand there. People begin to talk about a few things. Someone turn to Izuku and bring their hand up, them nudging him in the shoulder with their elbow before staring at Deku. And Iwagos don't turn staring at them, not saying a word. The commander yelling at Deku something, and Izuku is going to turn his head, him staring at the man as his lips are moving. Before Deku would go to bring his hands up, currently him taking both of his fingers and wiping the blood out of his ears, showing off that his eardrums, he destroyed them, and it is currently taking some time for them to regenerate. And the commander stares at Deku, since that is an interesting tactic. It only had one real way to defend against the fire. Scream out at a high sonic frequency, disrupt their hearing, and hurt them. If Izuku can't hear the frequency or hear the disturbance, it can't disrupt him. So, he learned from the experience. He adapted. He used a strategy. And the man, he does not bring his hand up. Currently, him holding it out towards Izuku. And Deku looks down at that. Bringing his hand up as the commander, we're going to give him a firm handshake. And Deku, he does debate trying to squeeze, though he doesn't want to crush the man's hand. Currently, him is going to, well, bring his hand up a bit more firmly. And the man, he would nod at Izuku. Currently, them going back to the campsite and beginning to get things packed up. So far from the information they have on the prior MTF, they only had the one anomaly. Though, what is it? What can they call this thing? Name it? Well, the guys at the lab will find that out, but... oh boy. And here they thought they might have been dealing with the nut deer. That's certainly something. Deku turning. Currently the commander going to bring up a beer, talking about it. He's dealt with those things before. They're, not fun. Funny enough, he was a rookie during that. I bet. Must have been some pretty bad shit. I've heard a few things about that anomaly. Yeah, I've heard some things too. Though, from my understanding, those things, they're, what is it, 64, 20, no, 48, right? Yeah, you're right. Not deer? Yeah. It's, let's just put it this way. You ever heard of deterioration disease or, well, wasting disease for deer? Okay, listen. Jesus. You're not a regular kid. Okay, let's put it this way. It's a bit of another fucked up thing, but it's actually an anomaly. Most people think it's some sort of disease that messes with the stuff in deer's minds. It's sometimes the case. Though, for the cases where it's not, let's just say it's a lot more dangerous. And keep it at that. I don't really like opening those wounds. Deku nodding his head. Currently Rose asking him if they are done. Yes, I believe so. The forest is peaceful again. What do you mean? They felt disturbed. However, now that everything is done, it will be okay. I've informed them. Her going to turn, expressing, holding up her hand as it doesn't go to glow, that they are fine, and they are feeling grateful that they will be leaving. Though the areas that have been harmed, They are going to be quenched, are they not? Hmm, I believe so. Not sure. Him turning and asking the question. The commander confirming. Because of Foundation activity, this place needs to be deep cleaned. However, instead of burning the area down and causing a bit more of a commotion, let's just say they might wash everything away. Considering the fact that they play with fire and caused a landslide, it'd be easier just to say a flash flood ran through the area. And Deku, he's not too sure how that works. The man turning and nudging at somebody in a lab coat. Him trying to at least tell Izuku about the technicalities of that. And we do currently have at Site 19. About, let's say, a few hours later, where Deku gets off of a transport with Rose, along with some other members of an MTF. People unloading gear from the Foundation transport. And currently Dr. Bright goes to run up. Him bringing his hand up and talking about it. About how he wants to talk with Izuku about a few things. Listen, he knows it's a bit soon, but the MTF. Jesus. Okay, there. Let's try that again. Dr. Bright tries to tell him. Currently, the O5 Council, they want to put Izuku against some other anomalies right now. Though one of the major ones is going to be simple. They want him to go against some peaceful anomalies. Friendly, like Miss J friendly. Miss J? Sort of. Listen, maybe you can talk to her again, but, uh, no, I guess. Do you like space? Do you like the stars? Stars are nice to look at. They are quite pretty. Currently Deku turning to her. And looking at Rose. And Rose is going to turn. Her talking about how she has been trying to understand things. He's talking about the flowers, correct? Him shaking his head no. And Deku turns back, telling Dr. Bright, stars are nice. They're pretty. He likes them, but what does that have to do with anything? And Dr. Bright tells him, okay, so they want to test him against the Desire camera. Afterwards, they want to test him against somebody else. And hey, he might even get to see 999 again. In fact, well, what about the druid? Would you like to meet that guy? Well, green. Green. No. God. Is this guy colorblind? Okay. She might like to meet that orange little blob. Deku turning. Before asking Dr. Bright if he can go see 343 and take his friend to see them, since he wants to have a talk with the anomaly. Along with that, she might like to visit him. And Dr. Bright would turn, him throwing his hands out expressing that they certainly can. He should be in, though, ask the guards. He might be back after his cheeseburger run. Speaking of that, he's gonna go at least try and get the paperwork filed for all of this. Currently, Dr. Bright gonna walk his way down the corridor. And Deku tries to talk to Rose, expressing about a few things. Him telling her the story of 343. At least how he's heard them describe it. Now, the Foundation, they're currently going to bring another anomaly into Foundation custody. One that certainly has been interesting to study. Though as far as they can tell, there's not much really to go off of. This creature is normal. I mean, they found it as some sort of anomaly. It was part of an anomalous organization. I mean, they're not really too sure. As far as they can tell, them bringing off the transport, it appears to be normal. Though this could be another situation with the cat-like anomaly. It doesn't look dangerous, but it certainly is. And currently the anomaly, it is being wheeled into a containment cell. Now, we do actually have 343. Whenever Izuku does him walk into the room, he would go to reappear. Currently, him going to appear in front of Izuku and bring his hand down. Him grabbing the boy by the shoulder and expressing to him about how he apologizes for what he could not do, what he could not save, and what he could not interfere with, since the Foundation were quite adamant about destroying him. And Deku, he does stare at the man, him trying to not be mad, trying to think about a few things he wants to ask him, and a few requests he could fulfill to make up for all of that. And if 343 really is all knowing, he knows the words that might come out of his mouth next. And with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.